Welcome back. Elliot Friedman had this recently with regards to Nashville and Tyson Barrie. Quote, there is word today that the Predators have given Tyson Barrie permission to talk to other teams. Barrie expected to be a scratch against the Rangers, which he was, and is a UFA after this season. This allows team and player to see if there's a better fit elsewhere. Bruce, you kind of went through this last year with a guy, publicly saying or publicly being granted permission to talk to other teams with Brock Boeser. What is that like? How does that change the dynamic inside those?
Well, inside the room, he was still loved and everything by his teammates and that. But it's got to be tough on the player, thinking, okay, I'm going to get traded, and how do I get, embrace the team and everything we're doing? So, I think that might be going through with Tyson right now, but it's, Brock didn't get traded, and I think Vancouver's pretty happy that they didn't trade him last year. So, he's gone through this again, too, with the Leafs, I think, a little bit. And then he got moved to Edmonton. He was good in Edmonton. Then he got moved here. I think there's a lot of teams that could use a right-handed offensive defenseman. So, I think he'll get his wish sooner than later.
How does that sit with teammates, though? Because you have this guy, let's say you and I are in the dressing room. You're sitting next to me, and I know publicly that you've said you don't really want to be a part of this organization. How does that sit with professional athletes?
I think athletes today and my generation, I think this is certainly true. Business is business, and that stays outside the room.
Yep.
When you're inside that room, it's all about hockey, and you don't bring your personal matters kind of to the room. And I think Tyson Barrie, seasoned pro, Western Canadian guy, he's not going to be a distraction through all this. And I think players, having said that, the longer this goes, the more problematic it becomes. So to be able to dispense with this in a week or two's time would be ideal for Coach Trotz and the rest of the organization. But I don't see a guy like Tyson Barrie really creating a brewing problem inside the context of the room through all this.
All right, never too early to talk about trades. Trade deadline's a ways away, but we've had a couple of trades already this season. So let's talk about maybe some goaltenders that could be on the move, or maybe more specifically teams that would have a goalie on their wish list right now. Do you have a pair of teams, one or two teams, that really want a goalie to come down the chimney this year?
Well, yeah, when I'm thinking goaltending, I'm thinking New Jersey Devils right now, and maybe the Detroit Red Wings. Both goalies are, 879, 891 save percentage in Jersey. Which isn't good enough. They're a high-scoring team, and a lot of times they can outscore their problems, but right now they haven't been able to do that. And maybe, Vanecek's always been a 1A or 1B. You just never took over that job 100%. So if they could find somebody, I think they would go for him. And the Red Wings, too. Ville Husso, it's 3.5 almost his goals against in the 891 save percentage. I really like what Reimer has done and what Lyon's done. I'm just not sure that those two can keep that up when Ville Husso is your number one guy.
Yeah. Well, you think back to Florida last year. Alex Lyon is probably the sole reason that the Florida Panthers made the playoffs and went to the Stanley Cup final.
It's interesting, Bruce bringing up Detroit. Steve Yzerman had a conversation about his team more broadly through The Athletic, if anybody had a chance to read it. He makes the point a couple of times by saying, assuming goaltending holds up, we're going to be all right.
Yeah, and that goes for any team in the NHL,
That's a big assumption. It's a big assumption, but gives you a sense of, the manager's sense of what goaltending looks like presently, and doesn't exude confidence. If you can make an upgrade, I think Yzerman would be open to doing that.
What about low-hanging fruit on this one as well? Edmonton?
Edmonton, without question. I think this group, the last 2 years since they've been a Skinner/Campbell approach to the net tandem.
Campbell's gone down to the AHL, and he's played well of late.
Yeah.
So starting to get that confidence back again.
Back up.
Yep.
I think that's probably in the cards. You've got a good bit invested in Jack Campbell. You owe it to yourself to see if he can't kind of be a mechanic to his own game, come back with some confidence. Stuart Skinner is a guy, I was really impressed with the load he carried last year. I thought had a really solid year, but maybe giving us an indication that, number one guy, consistent number one guy with a north of 900 save percentage is not in the cards. Another team for me, Carolina. This is a group, in my estimation, you look at this three-headed monster. Kochetkov may be the goaltender of the future. So that's kind of an issue you set to the side, in my estimation, and allow him to develop while your number one, Frederick Anderson, carries the load. But it's proven outside his reach. Freddie has been injured significant stretches of time on the IR over the last little while. I think if you could secure a number one, like being able to pry a Gibson out of Anaheim, that's a deal that Don Waddell would look hard at.
It's funny, the closer and closer we get to the end of the season, and more specifically the trade deadline, you good? There goes that pen. He can't talk anymore.
Now. You go to Bruce.
But you don't see goalies on the move as far as trades too often around the trade deadline, just because it's too tough for them to kind of get up to speed with their new team, right? Down the stretch.
Well, I think more it's managers covet goalies, and you never know if you've got a playoff team and you trade a goalie for a non-goalie, there goes your number three. If something were to happen, you really worry about that. So, I mean, that's why, like, this year there's more teams than probably ever having three goalies on the roster, and because they didn't want to take a chance on one of them going through waivers because they wouldn't have gotten through. But I mean, I think those four teams that we mentioned all are sitting there thinking, if we could make a move for a goalie, that might put us over the top, and I think they would try to do it.
And the problem, especially now with a major goaltender transaction, is it's not just if you're the team that's jettisoning a goaltender, it's not so much that you're going to take a bit of a haircut in the standings. There's a developmental concern too. Remember, you've probably got assets, you've got players that you're looking to develop. You bring you yank a number one out of the mix, and you've got developmental concerns going forward.
All right, we love trades, so we'll see if we get any action between now and January 1.